How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Family. We are back with another FPL deadline-ish stream. It's double game week 36 time. And title of the stream, Black and White. Is it all laid out in front of us in plain black and white with Isak on the cover here? Should we just go for Isak because he is the kind of the front runner for Newcastle's attack, or do we go with more of a differential pick with Callum Wilson, or even the likes of Joe Linton or Joe Willock, or even Jacob Murphy? There's many different options that we can go for, as well as potentially triple defensive. You can go for Nick Pope, Trippier, and Botman. But the Newcastle stripes will be flying high in a lot of FPL managers' teams this week, as well as the stripes of Brighton as well, because they also have a double game week as they both play each other on Thursday coming next week. We'll also take a look at our predictions and how we did last week. We'll do our predictions for this coming week as well. And we will also look at how the team's shaping up, and maybe the title of the stream of is it laid out there basically in black and white for me, because there's some pretty basic moves I can do, and it seems like everyone's doing them, and I might just have to kind of follow suit this week in order to not lose much ground. So, without further ado, let's see how the team did. So, the team is up on the screen for you there. I'm just bringing up something on the side here. Okay, I can move that out the way. Okay, I'm just going to put this over to the side here. Alright, cool. Cool. So, we actually got a green arrow, which is funny. We got 44 points total. Although there were some players in our team that didn't do the greatest. We got some flags to deal with as well. So to start the game week, I considered who to play over Watkins and Martial, Botman and Estupinian, Henry and Estupinian. There was many different things that went through my mind. And this is what I settled on, and it kind of didn't really matter in the end because, I mean, Estupinian had the best fixture on paper in theory. Martial had a pretty good fixture too, which was kind of comparable to Watkins. They were both equal to each other. Botman and Estupinian were only 1 point off, so at the end of the day, it wasn't the end of the world. The disappointing thing, though, however, was the fact that Solly March was on the bench again. He did come on. De Zerbi did mention pre-match that he wasn't in the best moment, and I believe he was talking about fitness, because it looks like Solly March has pulled his hamstring and is probably going to be out for this week, definitely, and most likely the first game in game week 37, which means he's basically a transfer out. And we can do that sideways move to McAllister. We'll talk about more on that. But if it's anything like my transfer for Riyad Mahrez, we brought him in over Jack Grealish. He got us 10 points. Gundogan putting his 2 assists away, which is quite nice. Him getting some bonus points as well along that. So he was kind of the highlight alongside the 2 Liverpool players with Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold. But for the rest of them, not so much. Haaland blanking. March, obviously, like we said, just the 1 point. Rashford, 2 points. Watkins, just the 1 point getting booked. Matoma, basically no rank rise there, even though he did get an assist. David De Gea's 3 points. Matched Kepa in his 3 points as well. Stupinian 0. And Trippier 1 point. So our differential pick in Mars did come through, which was quite nice. We kind of saw the rumblings of the City news, potentially what it was. I potentially would have gone for Julian Alvarez as well, but it looks like it's better off that I didn't, because I would have only gained 1 point on the transfer. Plus, I would have only had 1 free transfer to deal with the fact that I don't have Isak or Wilson, as well as the fact that Solly March is now injured. So I would have had to take a hit if I wanted to rectify that, as well as bring in a Newcastle forward. But overall, a green arrow, 214k. I kind of want to see if I can make the last minute surge to get into the top 100k. I think it's probably too far out of reach Inside the top 200k would be a very reasonable kind of goal. Top 150k would be really good. Top 100k would be just like a miracle at this point. So we've got 3 game weeks to do it. So let's see how we go for it. We can just basically go with some rogue captaincies if we wanted to, because that's kind of going to be the swingy thing this week. And speaking of that, I'm actually gonna, while I'm thinking of that, I'm gonna pull up Fantasy Football Scout on the side as well, and we're going to take a look at who could potentially be our captaincy pick this week. So let me see if I can bring up the members area off to the side here. Okay, well, that's doing its thing. We shall. And like I said, our transfer was Mahrez, which was fantastic, because Grealish didn't even play at all. So we would have got like Martial or somebody. So we basically made 9 points on the deal. Moving into our predictions. We did predictions for these last week. No differential picks, just doing the predictions for the remainder of the season. We have, where is my predictions tweet? There it is. There's the predictions tweet in the box there. So yeah, basically the way it works is basically if you get the exact score right. This is the kind of my scoring system. So had I predicted Chelsea 3, Bournemouth 1, I would have got 3 points. If I predicted at least a Chelsea win, I would have got 1 point. And had I predicted anything else, I would have got 0 points. So last week we got 11 points, which was really good, actually. And this week, hopefully, we can do better than that. I wrote them down in the notebook so I can take a look at them later on at the end of the season. So 1-1 between Bournemouth and Chelsea is what I predicted. We didn't get anything from that, so just the 0 points on that one. Predicted 3-0 for Leeds, Manchester City in favor of Manchester City. They ended up winning 2-1. Ederson losing a clean sheet again, which is just hilarious. It just keeps happening for some reason. Who knows? But we got 1 point for that. Spurs, Crystal Palace. I thought it would be quite tight. It was. So we got the 1 point there. We predicted 2-1. It ended up being 1-0. Wolves, Villa. I thought it'd be the other way around. Villa seemed to have gone kind of a 2-game slide here with no goals in both of them versus Wolves and Manchester United. A bit unfortunate for them as they were looking like they were potentially charging into one of the European spots. Gonna have a lot of work to do now. So we got that one wrong. Liverpool, Brentford, again, thought it'd be quite tight in favor of Liverpool though. Salah getting just the 1 goal in this one and a clean sheet for Liverpool as well at home, which they continue to do quite well in the league. So the 1 point there. Newcastle, Arsenal, I really thought it was going to be a win for Newcastle, and same for Manchester United. Newcastle 1-0 over Arsenal, ended up being 2-0 in favor of Arsenal, and then vice versa for West Ham and Manchester United. Thought it was going to be 2-0, and ended up being 1-0 in favor of West Ham. So both of those were incorrect. Fulham, Leicester, I mean, all of these games I think I got wrong. Fulham getting the win. I predicted a 2-2 draw. Everton getting a massive win. Predicted a 3-0 win for Brighton. And Forest getting a win. I predicted a 1-1 draw. So no points there. So in 10 games, just the measly 3 points. So our predictions didn't do so great. But our FPL team did okay. So that was probably our worst week I think ever, to be honest. Which is not ideal. So we can move that out the way. And we can move on to this week's predictions. So this week we have an extra fixture in there with Newcastle and Brighton doubling. Play against each other. Let me bring up the score prediction. The score predictions I have for this week. So I have Leeds 0, Newcastle 3. Main reasoning for this is just because I think Newcastle are playing well at the moment. Leeds looks super open even with Big Sam in charge. I think this is a game where Leeds are probably not going to get much from it. And I expect Newcastle to win and keep a clean sheet. So Trippier captainers should be happy. Wilson and Isak captainers should be probably happy in this one too. Assuming all the goals go the right way. Villa Spurs have actually gone for an Aston Villa 2-1 win over Spurs. Spurs have not been good away from home. They haven't been in the most consistent form as of recently. I gave them a goal because it just seems like Harry Kane often just scores all the time. But Villa, I think, at home, this will be a big game for them. They'll give Spurs a go. And it could be a situation where Spurs kind of nick them on the counter. Between Kane and Son, who have been playing as more like a front two recently, which I think is when they're playing at their best. But I think Villa could cause them a lot of problems as they are a very high intense team. And we saw what Newcastle, who are very similar in terms of that work rate, did to Spurs. So I think this could be a similar kind of angle on this one. Chelsea Forest, I have gone with a slight win in favor of Chelsea. I think with Forest getting the win over Southampton, I think that this is a game where, yes, they would like a point if they could get it, but I don't think that they would be upset if they didn't come away with any points in this one, mainly due to the fact that Everton also play Man City this week, Leicester are playing Liverpool, and Leeds are playing Newcastle. So a lot of teams are playing tough teams. So if they did come away with something, obviously that would help them. But all things considered, it's most likely that all of those teams are probably not going to get any points this week. But I probably think Forest probably have the best chance. Although Chelsea have started to score recently, but we'll see. We'll see. It just seems like they seem very uninspiring at home. Chelsea and Forest aren't the greatest travelers in the league, so it'll be an interesting one. But I've given Forest a goal. I put it pretty close. I'm going with 2-1. Crystal Palace Bournemouth, same scoreline. I've gone with a 2-1 in favor of Crystal Palace. I think Bournemouth are safe. They know that. And I think Palace, when it's two teams that are pretty much like on the beach, as it were, there tends to be a little bit of competitiveness there sometimes. But I think Palace should be comfortable over Bournemouth. Bournemouth aren't the greatest defensive team, but they can hit teams on the break. And Palace is going to kind of want to do similar things. I think in possession, Palace will be a lot better. I think in midfield is probably crucial with the likes of Decore and Schlupp and Eze, who have been a fantastic midfield three under Roy Hodgson as he's taken over for the interim. And I've gone with Palace to win this one. I think it'll be one of those 2-1s where Palace will be fairly comfortable in the game. Maybe they concede one, but ultimately they'll get the job done. Manchester United and Wolves. I went with the Man United 2-1 win over Wolves. I just think Man United at home, they've only conceded 8 goals, I believe, all season at home. Wolves don't score very many goals. I believe they're second to last or bottom of scoring away from home. Man United have been extremely good at home, both on goal scoring as well as keeping the ball at the back of the net as well. And I think they need to win their 3 home games. Literally, if you win the 3 home games, you guarantee yourself a Champions League place. Because Liverpool, we'll check the table in a bit, but they can only get to a certain threshold of points with 3 games remaining, as can Brighton, and Newcastle can get to a certain threshold as well. And we will see what those point totals are. But basically, win 3 for United, and you are in. Moving on to the game after that, the last game at 3 p.m. kickoffs for UK time. Southampton-Fulham, pretty much the game that you're probably not going to pay too much attention to for the most part. I've gone with a 2-0 actually in favor of Fulham. Believe Mitrovic back for this one. He'll be integrated back in the team most likely, and I think they should be pretty smooth sailing for Southampton, who are pretty much down. It'll be confirmed if they were to drop points in this game, almost certainly. Brentford and West Ham. I've gone with a Brentford 2-0 win. This will probably be a rotated team for West Ham, as they have a favorable scoreline coming out of the first leg versus AZ Alkmaar in the Europa Conference League. They are also safe pretty much from relegation, as well as they they just got to put all their chips in the European basket, basically. They have the 1-goal advantage going into the second leg. I think that'll be helpful for them. So you expect a rotated West Ham team, and Brentford could put them to the sword, which would not shock me in the slightest. Everton, Sean Dyche turning into prime Pep Guardiola has to go up against, said Pep Guardiola. I've gone with the Man City 3-1 win. I just think Ederson continues to concede random goals. For Everton, might be a random goal, like Dominic Calvert-Lewin getting it behind or something like that. But for the most part, I think City will control the game. They'll create chances. They'll score goals. Pretty straightforward in this one. Brighton, Arsenal. I've gone for a bit of a shootout here, but I've given Arsenal the edge in this one. I've gone with 3-2, favoring them at home. Arsenal haven't kept many clean sheets at home. Especially, I don't think they've actually kept a clean sheet since pre-World Cup, if I remember correctly, at home. So, it is a bit of an interesting one. Brighton got absolutely smacked by Everton. Arsenal can definitely do the same on the break, but they will have the majority of the ball. I think Brighton will be contesting possession, so it should be for a very interesting game at the Emirates. But I've given Arsenal the slight advantage. Monday, Leicester v Liverpool. Leicester in a dire situation to get points. They need to get a result from this game. I just don't see it happening. I think Liverpool know that they need to win their 3 games. And it could be a random swing either way. It could be Liverpool win and United lose to Wolves at home, or vice versa, and it's a massive swing either way for the top 4 race. I think Leicester don't get the result that they need. I give them a goal, though, in it, and I've gone with Liverpool to win 3-1. Although Liverpool haven't been the greatest away from home, so it could be a bit of a sticky one, because Leicester do have the quality of players. It's just the team as a whole functioning hasn't been the greatest. And then lastly, the double game week. I've actually gone for a 1-1 in this one. Now, people say, oh, well, that's pretty low scoring. But I think that Newcastle will try to keep it kind of cagey. They'll be a bit more kind of aggressive on the ball, probably opening 15 minutes. Brighton, if they can ward that off, then they should be okay. I can see Brighton getting one, kind of baiting Newcastle in, and then getting one in a short transition. Newcastle potentially could get one if Brighton are not basically on point in the opening 15 minutes, because St. James is going to be putting all the pressure on them with the atmosphere. So I think it could be a bit of a close one. I'm sitting on the fence. I can't really split the 2 teams because I think both are quite capable of winning this one. So I've gone with a draw. So, that is that. Let me move the notepad out the way. I'll post that over on Twitter. Post that over on Twitter for you all. And pretty straightforward stuff. Okay. FPL Game Week 36 predictions. Copy and paste. So those should be out for you. And over on Twitter. So I can get rid of that. Move that out the way. Move that out the way. Right. Let's move on to the team itself. This is where kind of the meat and potatoes, the whole Sunday roast kind of comes together. We want to look at how the team's doing. So, currently as it stands, this is how we have the lineup. So we've got De Gea in goal. We've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, Estupiñán, Trippier, and Botman in a back 4 with Mo Salah, Solly March, Mitoma, Rashford, Martial, and Erling Haaland. Now, the reason I currently have it in this formation is mainly due to the fact that we're going to be making some transfers. And those transfers is definitely going to be a Newcastle striker of some kind, whether it's Callum Wilson or whether it's Alexander Isak. And also, Solly March presumably is injured, so we will have to get him out. I mean, De Zerbi said he was injured, but we would take him out directly for McAllister. However, there's also a thing that Rashford is a major doubt. Now, Not too sure. They said it was some kind of leg injury. Maybe it just could be just like a extended dead leg or something like that. Could be a bit of a kind of a strain. Rashford does kind of go through the gears when he is playing for Manchester United. Utilizes his pace quite a lot. So an injury in his leg is probably not something to kind of just overlook and just say, yeah, it is what it is. Also ignore the captaincy and vice captaincy at the moment. We'll talk about that in a bit. And we'll change that and we'll do the transfers live on... we'll do at least one of the transfers live on stream. The other one will be... We'll have to figure it out. But... so yeah, I think what I'm going to do for Rashford specifically is probably leave him in place. Hope that he's available for 37 and 38 fixtures. And if he's either going to start and play, or he's just not going to play at all, I think, is what's going to probably happen. And if that's the case, then I'm more than happy to have Mahrez come in for him away to Everton. Mahrez was not utilized in the Champions League, which means I think he's going to get a start over on the right-hand side, especially with the success last time out versus Leeds with his 2 assists. And he played quite well, actually. So I believe he will stay in the team for this one. If we look at the transfer screen, we got 1.2 million. So let's look at the transfer planner. So this is FPL.team. Not familiar with it. It is a great tool to kind of check out. We also have the Fantasy Football Scout members area. So I'm going to pull up the stats table for my Who To captain. Table as well. Just need it to load. Oh, excuse me. Well, while that's loading, at least I can put my team in order how it currently is. So, Botman would be in for Riyad Mahrez. Martial is in for Ollie Watkins, and Mahrez would be ahead of him. Now, assuming that we get some... I mean, March is going to come out for McAllister. I mean, that seems pretty straightforward. Don't really think there's any kind of questions about that. It just makes the most sense. 5 fixtures in the next 3 game weeks. It's a bit of a no-brainer, unfortunately. Table's finally come up. Let me change the last 4 matches. Okay. So yeah, that's going to be definitely one transfer. And then the other one is going to be which of the Newcastle forwards it's going to be, basically. So if I just change the teams here, I'm going to put in captaincy options would be McAllister, Matoma, no Brighton defensive. That's definitely not going to happen. Isak, Trippier, Callum Wilson. Those are the options. We sort it by expected goal involvement. Let me put this up on the screen here. We'll come back to that in just a second. So basically, we can bring in either forward here. So let's say, for argument's sake, we do get rid of Martial and we bring in Isak, right? We can bring in Isak or Wilson. It doesn't matter. We have the funds to do either or. So, if we did that, we could then captain Isak if we wanted to. FPL.teams suggest that Isak actually might get expected 1 less point. McAllister is on par. Matoma is 1 less. Trippier is actually considered the highest. But I think Isak is probably the one to maybe go for. Either Isak or McAllister is kind of what I'm favoring to, but we'll look at the data in a second. Like I said, we keep Rashford in the team. Cool, fine. Mahrez would be first sub because I like Mahrez versus Everton rather than Watkins versus Spurs. Goalkeeper-wise as well, I think De Gea just edges it over Forrest because Forrest are capable of actually scoring a goal. Wolves, it just doesn't seem like they are. Then we move it into the double game week in 37. Mahrez would come in over Sven Botman. We would have one free transfer to utilize if we were to do so. I do like Isak in this game week at home to Leicester. I think if he starts in this first game and then he's benched in the second one, then the likelihood is he's going to start in the third one, which would be Leicester, which is what we want him for. So I think that our priorities here would be looking for a third City asset if we can look for that. Although I think it's probably unlikely that there's going to be someone who gets like a good chunk of minutes, like 160 minutes or something like that. That isn't like, I mean, Ederson's still prone to rotation as well, which is a bit of an interesting one. But I think we can potentially prioritize the likes of Bruno Fernandes in this instance, take Salah out and bring Bruno in for double game week. Aston Villa are quite stubborn defensively, whereas Bournemouth, Chelsea, not really too much to play for, although Chelsea would like to kind of ruin the show. But I think Man United should be able to deal with Bournemouth as well as a Chelsea team that are, well, United should be able to deal with them because being at home in that game makes it easier. So we'd have 3 singulars, which is fine. So we have triple Brighton, triple Man United, and double Manchester United. Oh, sorry. Double City, triple Manchester United, triple Brighton. The only other team that doubles in that game week is Chelsea, and we don't want any parts of their team. The only other thing that I would potentially consider is if I knew Julian Alvarez was starting in the first game. If I did know that, I would be open to taking a hit for Ollie Watkins and starting Alvarez in this one, because the likelihood is City win out up until and including this Brighton game, they've won the league. So, because they would have 4 points, assuming Arsenal win out too, they would have 4 points clear with the final game of the season to go, and you can only make up 3 points in one game. So Alvarez would come in. We'd captain Erling Haaland. That would be for a -4. That is something that we can definitely do, and we'd have quite a bit of money in the bank. If we moved it on to the final day, Isak would be first sub. I would reluctantly be benching Isak too, mind you. Game week 38, I think De Gea at home is perfectly fine in this one. If Alvarez and Mahrez, like if we know the early team news, which is very likely potentially for Man City, that they could be just kind of throwing out a random team to kind of just play. If we see that Haaland isn't playing, this is where we potentially could go for a punt on something. And we could potentially bench whoever we wouldn't want. This is where I'm potentially eyeing up a move for Harry Kane, who potentially could be playing a kind of deflated, weakened lead side that could be there for the taking. If Haaland were to be benched / probably reserved for not only the FA Cup final, but also the Champions League final the following weekend. But that would come down to early team news as well. And we'd have to kind of see on that one. And then that team would be pretty much solid. But let's take a look at the table. So shout out to Fantasy Football Scout. Make sure to go check them out. Link is down in the About section over on Twitch. It's in my Twitter bio. It's also on the description of every YouTube video. So make sure to go check them out. Fantasy Football Scout. This is the members area. This is one of the tables that I've created. And we sorted by expected goal involvement. And the highest thus far is McAllister, actually, in the last 4 matches. So McAllister has the most expected goal involvement. He's got 2 goals, but he's expected to have got 2.35 goals and expected to have had at least an assist. Callum Wilson overperforming his XGI with 5 goals. as well. Couple chances created, but not much on the creation side. Trippier, a lot of creation, but no end product on the other end. Isak scored 2 goals with an expected goal ratio of 1.05. Isak seems to be like kind of the all-round creator. Same with Matoma. McAllister and Callum Wilson are pretty much kind of goal scorers in the sense. McAllister was very fortunate with his goal that he did score as well. So this is kind of why, you know, a lot of FPL managers are looking for the likes of Callum Wilson as their kind of go-to. Because he looks to be kind of he's slightly more expensive, but it seems to be the more like, hey, look, he could get a brace in the game, whereas Isak might get an assist, might get a goal in the next game, but Wilson could be the one that kind of goes off. In terms of where they play positionally, Isak will play off the left if Wilson is through the middle. However, Isak will play through the middle if Wilson is on the bench. So that team news could be super, super crucial. And here's my decision making for it. If we get the team news that Isak is starting and Wilson is not, I will bring in Isak and captain Isak. No problem. If we get the team news that Isak and Callum Wilson are playing, I will bring in Isak and I will captain Isak as well. The only way where I would bring in Callum Wilson is if Isak was on the bench and Callum Wilson was playing from the start. I would bring in Callum Wilson and I would probably captain Callum Wilson or McAllister. It's not a guarantee, but I would consider either or. And the reason I say this is because Isak is likely that if he is randomly on the bench, he's almost certainly going to come on in direct replacement for Callum Wilson. Or if the game's not going well, which typically means that Callum Wilson probably hasn't scored, or it's 0-0 or whatever, then Isak will, like I said, he will either replace Callum Wilson on the pitch, or Eddie Howe will bring them on alongside each other. And then the likelihood is Isak will start the following game. So I think out of both games, I think Callum Wilson he's probably assuming average returns. If Callum Wilson starts the first game and Isak doesn't, I think it's basically like a 65 to 70, to like 35-20. Or that math doesn't work out. Basically a 60-30 in favor of Callum Wilson, where Isak would come on and replace him. And then the following game, Isak would start, and then Wilson would come off the bench. However, Eddie Howe is keen on playing them both, then I think they could both play in both of these games. He played them both versus Arsenal to not much effect. And I think that has something to do with Longstaff as well. But I think Leeds are going to be there to be got at, and I think that the likes of Wilson and Isak starting in this one are both quite high. But we will wait for the team news on that one. If we can get any before the FPL deadline. So I'm going to be looking at my team 10 minutes before the deadline does come through. So that's kind of where we are with like the captaincy and that sort of stuff. So one transfer that we can definitely do right now, pretty straightforward. Solly March out for Alexis McAllister. He's going to go straight into the team. Confirm the transfer. McAllister's in, and he currently has the captaincy on him. Let me see. So if I want to put, Holland, we'll go here, then here, then here, because the likelihood is that Isak will go in this place. I just like to color code things kind of with my FBL team. So we'll save that. Salah has the vice captaincy currently. I'll put the vice captaincy to make it easy on Martial, who'd be the one we probably are getting rid of. Actually, we'll put it on Holland because, yeah, we'll keep it on Holland because he's gonna play, isn't he? So yeah, and like I said, the tomorrow morning we get news, and then we can, like, if we get rid of Martial, you see we have to 7.2 million. If I check current, actually, if I look at my list view, I bought Ollie Watkins at 7.4 million. So if he goes down, which he's scheduled to do so, it doesn't really matter. Martial, I don't think is scheduled to go down. Let me just double check. So McAllister's supposed to go up, Mahrez and De Gea. And then to go down is Rashford, March, Watkins, Jota, Ryan, Veltman, Ashby, Raya, Ricardo, Coleman, Sanchez. Martial is nowhere near to a drop. Watkins, if he drops, it doesn't matter. So we're pretty straight on that one. We're on the straight and narrow. So, and then, like I said, we have 7.2 million, so we can get Wilson, who is 7.1 million, as you can see here, and then Isak, who is 7 million here. So if either of them go up, it doesn't really matter. And then our transfers later would be downgrading Salah to Bruno Fernandes, which would give us more money, so on and so forth. So we're fine if prices were to change overnight for that. But yeah, so this is the team. This is the team currently as it stands. Had to refresh there for a little bit. So we have De Gea in goal. We've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, Estupiñán, Trippier, and Botman. All of those, I think, are better than playing Rico Henry defensively. I think all of those are better than playing Mahrez, in my opinion, who's probably going to come in for Rashford anyway. I think Watkins versus Estupiñán is a close call, but you got to play the double game weaker. And also, Estupiñán has some attacking threat. If it was Dunk, then maybe it was a potential, like, kind of toss-up there. Salah, McAllister with the captaincy currently. Mitoma, Rashford's currently in the team. Haaland vice-captain with Martial, who is likely to make way for a Newcastle forward, which we will determine basically 5-10 minutes before deadline, whenever it's supposed to be. So yeah, that's kind of it for the stream today. So yeah, let's move over to the big screen. So, thank you all for watching. Make sure to pay close attention to Twitter, PilotFlame226. I'll post my lineup after I've made my my transfer, and that'll be close to the deadline. But I'll post it basically after the game's already gone. I'll take a screenshot of it beforehand. So yeah. Make sure to like, favorite, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Gameweek 36, it's 3 to go. 36, 37, and 38 left in the FPL season. You can find us on all platforms, PilotFlame226 on all of those. And until the next one, take care.